Hello and welcome back to the Edit by Engage Creative. I am Sophie, one of the co-founders of Engage Creative. We are a marketing agency specializing in wedding-based businesses. And today I am so excited because I'm sitting down with Kennedy from Gown Eyed Girl. We are such big fangirls. Our whole team has followed you for a number of years, so I feel like this is long overdue. I'm very excited to connect with you. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of want to take it all the way back to the start. Tell us kind of where you started, everything from the beginning, what inspired you.
So I started in a bridal shop. I was doing styling, and I originally got into bridal because I was looking for an avenue into the luxury market. And a lot of people told me that a nice, easy way to sort of hop into that market was to start in bridal. But I ended up getting my first job in bridal and not really wanting to move anywhere else because I loved it so much. It's such a particular style of appointment. It's such a particular industry. And there was so much about it that I found really, really interesting. And then COVID hit. So I had hopped around a few different bridal shops, and I was moving up. I went from being a coordinator to a stylist to actually managing a showroom to being an operations manager. And then once COVID hit, it was really, really difficult because I was no longer looking to be a more front-facing role. I was really looking for something that I could do more remotely, and I could just take a step back from being forward-facing. And I ended up making all of these fun little videos for TikTok because it was just when everyone was starting to hop on TikTok and have so much fun with it. And we discovered this really cool little niche in the social media world of showcasing bridal inspiration and specifically bridal styling in a way that it really hadn't been showcased before.
It was such a need. Like when I started following you way back COVID days, no one was doing it before. You're so right. I feel like not that it was like a stale industry, but it was very like if you said you worked in bridal, it's like, oh, okay. But like I definitely feel like there has been an evolution over the 5-6 years that like no, bridal's fun and cool and exciting and like we really push boundaries.
I think that the hardest part about bridal is that you don't really have any experience with the industry until you yourself are getting married. And that can make it feel very exclusive in a way that luxury isn't. Luxury is sort of this exclusive that everyone wants to be a part of. But the bridal industry is elusive in a way that people aren't really learning about it before they get to it. And so doing these videos that seemed kind of like kitschy and fun at first actually opened up an avenue to really connect with people who had never thought about bridal before. And I think that's why it was so successful and why people resonated with it so much is that you could enjoy it even if you weren't a bride. And I feel like that's what the bridal industry was really, really struggling with.
I feel like as well, it's like every girl wants to look at fun bridal dresses. Even if you aren't engaged, it's like you will save a Pinterest board or like it will come up on your TikTok. So like you definitely hit the market really well when TikTok was up and coming because like who doesn't want to look at like cool wedding dresses to like save for later?
100%. And to extrapolate on that, there were a lot of people who didn't realize that wedding dresses could be that cool. So there were a lot of people who also looked at it and didn't think that there were dresses like what I was putting out there. And so to see that there was actually something that they found interesting, I think made a lot more people realize how much they actually were interested in bridal.
Yes. Yeah. Was there a vision when you first started, or was it just as, I guess, like organic as let's just like start posting some cool content?
It was exactly that, which is so funny. The very, very first video, I just picked my 5 favorite dresses that I had in the showroom that I hadn't seen anywhere else. And the video was literally just 5 dresses I really like. And that was how it got the ball rolling. And then from there, it turned into something that was more showcasing again, those bridal dresses that people hadn't seen as much. And so I've always tried to sort of stay with a platform that really does focus on uplifting designers that maybe are not as focused on as some of the other big heavy hitters that you see kind of covered all the time.
What do you think has been like the most powerful strategy as you have been building?
Just listening to my inner voice and really trusting myself and my own vision of this, and understanding that a lot of people aren't going to get it, and a lot of people are going to think you're doing it the wrong way, or they're going to think that maybe you should do something different. But that different and that misunderstanding is actually what makes this platform so special, is that it is so different. It's not for everyone, and it's filling a niche that maybe not everyone gets but needs to be there.
Yeah, and it's so funny because, like, I guess you putting out the content, even with yourself in the gowns, like, you need to be true to who you are. And I think that that's probably why you have such a loyal community as well. Like, people really trust your vision and, like, kind of what you recommend or are wanting to post. Is there something that you feel like resonates really well with your audience that you're like, yes, I know this is going to hit, or kind of, yeah, aesthetic wise?
My audience is kind of, I want to say they're a little bit less serious. They take things very seriously, and I think they like the fact that I've done a lot of the legwork of making sure that I'm working with brands that are very ethical, the ones that they don't have to worry about double checking for themselves, because I've done a lot of that research, so they can just purely enjoy this in a way that maybe they can't with other content that they're watching in the back of their minds and thinking, oh, is this something that I should be concerned about? So it's actually really fun to watch how some of the sillier videos, the ones that are, Disney inspired, or the ones that are music inspired, people can just sit back and really, really enjoy those, and they resonate with them because they connect to it, and it's an interest that does interest them, and they don't have to worry about anything except for just enjoying the video.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. How do you kind of decide who gets featured? I mean, like, the wedding industry and bridal industry, like, it's such a big category. So how do you even like decide? I mean, let alone, like, one of my questions is like, how did you decide your own wedding dress? Like, that in itself, I'm like, oh my gosh. But like, yeah, how do you decide who gets featured?
It's not a cut and dry process. I don't have a criteria or anything that I go off of, which is why I feel like sometimes it can look like, why are you working with this one person but not the other? First and foremost, I really have to like working with the team. There's a lot of brands that I work with just because I work so closely with the team on the back end. Bridal's really small. A lot of these bridal teams are also very small, and you just fall in love with the team. You see how much they love their brides and what they're really trying to do. And that's kind of why we all got into bridal in the first place, was to like make these brides' dreams come true. So when you meet a team who really, really does hone in on that, it's really hard to not want to work with them. And then on top of that, obviously, I like to work with brands who have a very strong vision. So they aren't constantly saying, oh, we want to look like this brand, or we want to look like that brand, but more so they're saying, this is who we are, this is the kind of bride that we serve, can you help us reach out to that particular bride? And I love a designer who's doing something kind of kooky and kind of different and is very experimental. So those are my three sort of categories: is teams that I like, brides or brands that are more experimental, and then brands who I feel like are, I can't even remember what the second one that I said was, but they are more ethical and like trying to move the needle forward. True to themselves,
Yeah.
exactly.
I feel like right now there's so much out there, and I feel like when you have your own like vision and aesthetic, that's kind of what makes you stand out from the rest, because there's only so many white dresses that can be designed, but it's like the story behind the collection, the story behind the designer, who exactly are you wanting to service? But it makes complete sense. And yeah, the bridal industry is very small, so making sure that you kind of are working with someone that you love, like, it makes your job so easy and lovely. We feel exactly the same way. What would be something that people kind of feel like they would be surprised? I mean, like, behind the scenes, it isn't just like putting on a pretty wedding dress and like posting it, but I mean, what is something that, people would be surprised to learn kind of behind the scenes about what you do?
I think there's a lot that people would be really surprised by. first and foremost, I do everything myself, the editing, the filming. I recently brought on a content assistant who comes in every once in a while to help me just film and hold the phone in the way that I need them to. But for the most part, everything is done myself. And
That's insane. You
I
have like, I was literally going to ask you, do you have a team behind you? But like the fact that you do it all, it's so funny because like, it's like 2025. I saw a post the other day and it was like, you are the content creator, the editor, the talent yourself. Like, but that is insane that you do it all. I mean, you're very talented to, have all of those different hats.
Thank you. I wish I could offload it to other people, but I think I'm just so nitpicky and I'm very, very particular about the way my things look. And I've spent so much time learning how to do it in my style that it's really hard to pass those reins over. And the other thing that I recently, someone was surprised by this because I just mentioned it, is I don't use any AI. I'm like very, very anti AI. I know some people really like to use it, but for me, I don't use it at all. And I think that was the most surprising because I do these really long videos. And even for that scripting, I don't use any sort of like ChatGPT or anything like that when it comes to making my content.
AI is such a weird market at the moment. And honestly, we have a business coach ourselves and we were talking about AI. And obviously, in kind of like marketing, what we do, it is a hot topic. And it's like the robot can't replace your customer service, it can't replace like delighting your customers and kind of going above and beyond. So, that is like kind of the niche at the moment, is that a robot can't replace you and what you provide. And it's really refreshing to know that you feel the same way, because I think that's what makes it unique in this day and age, especially as AI is building or as we're kind of navigating this new normal of people using it, is that, it's not a robot that is behind your brand. It is you yourself that is editing, that is curating and being like really authentic to your audience, because we obviously feel the same way. It's, there's only so much that a robot can do compared to us like delighting and going above and beyond for your clients.
And I think the thing about AI that's really scary is that it obviously is learning, but it's pushing us towards uniformity. It's pushing us towards one type of voice because it's trying to optimize. And the annoying part about that is it takes away the uniqueness, and what is so fun about us being human is that we're all so different. And so I think the more that people are able to learn how to make content in a way where they have their own voice and they're showcasing their personality, it's only going to make us look more and more unique, because everyone else is going to be using the same ChatGPT templates, the same sort of AI editing software. And while all their content starts getting funneled into this same sort of formula, you're going to start seeing the people who didn't learn to rely on that standing out even more.
Couldn't agree more. You're preaching to the choir. That's exactly how we feel. And you can kind of see as well now, like people that do
Yeah.
use ChatGPT, and I'm like, oh my God, you didn't edit that. Like, why? I mean, you have access to so many, I guess, designers and boutiques and like everything. What are you kind of excited about that's coming up?
I'm really excited about, I feel like bridal is starting to take a very refreshing turn where people are tired of seeing that same thing over and over and over again. And so you're seeing brides wanting to be more experimental and wanting to push outside the box, which is something I feel like we haven't seen in the past couple of years. So I'm very, very excited for bridal to start getting a little weird again.
Yeah. I'm excited for Bridal Market. I didn't attend last year. I was 150 years pregnant, it felt like, with my son. And so I obviously didn't travel all the way to New York. But I was watching it online and I was like, oh, okay. There was like some cool, like yellows, like the butter yellow was being used. And I was like, oh, this is really refreshing. And literally only a couple of weeks ago, I booked my flights to go this year. And I am so excited because I feel like it's really cements in the calendar, like New York Fashion Week. You kind of see what the new trends are coming up. And I feel like it's a great marker of like, I think there is a shift. I think that there is like a slight, people are starting to be a little bit unique, quirky, experimenting with different colors, patterns even. And I'm really pumped to see, because I can kind of see behind the scenes what's going on. But I feel like that's like a really great marker in the calendar of like, okay, this is what's coming out.
Yeah, I feel like everyone, especially in the industry, was so burnt out, myself included, the past 2 years, so 2023 and 2024. People were really burnt out. I think COVID had them spinning on a hamster wheel, and there was so much of just trying to survive. And then 2025 hit, and I think it was just this sort of collective, forget it, I'm just going to do whatever I find fun because nothing else is working. And now you're seeing people sort of re-fall in love with why we all entered this industry in the first place.
So true. What advice would you give to someone that is starting out in the industry? It's so funny because, like, exactly what you said, once you get in, you kind of don't go back. And I know, like, myself personally, like, when I was 17 in high school, I literally had like a bridal boutique job that I worked on weekends and after hours. And then, like, I got another job that was still in the bridal industry, and I just like fell into it. And it's like, you kind of don't fall out. Like, you're kind of like in it, and then it becomes like this like amazing kind of like industry that's fun, well connected, and it's a really positive industry in, like, you know, compared to fashion and whatnot. Like, it is really refreshing. So kind of, is there any advice that you would kind of recommend?
I would say that I would definitely advise people to always remember the client. I think with fashion and a lot of these other industries, you think of the client as just a buyer. They're just another person, and you're not really thinking them as like an individual person. You're thinking of them as a trend. Whereas bridal is so incredibly personal. I feel like it's really easy to be in this industry a long time and get really jaded because you are doing the same thing every day. But for the person that you're working with, this is the most special moment of a lot of their lives. When they go buy a computer, that's not the most special moment of their entire life. So Apple doesn't really have to like worry about that in the same way. But for the wedding industry, like, this is the most exciting time for them. There's a lot of emotions packed up into it. And I think it's so important that we as people in this industry really not lose sight over who we're working for and
So
what we're
true.
working towards.
Yeah, it's so true. And we say with our marketing clients that, you know, you're always attracting a new client. Like, you know, you telling the same story of where your gowns are made or who you are as a designer every couple of months, that's new and exciting to someone because they actually haven't discovered your brand. So it's really important to keep telling that story of the different content pillars within your kind of marketing, because you're always attracting a new client and then they move on to that next journey. So it's really important to keep that positivity, like refreshing excitingness behind your brand, because you're so right. It is always, you know, it is the best day of their lives, and you need to kind of bring that.
1,000,000%. And I think that's easier to remember. I think everybody in the industry should start out in a bridal showroom taking actual style, like being a bridal stylist, because what I tell people that is so interesting about this job, and one of the reasons why I loved it so much, is you have an hour and a half to go from being a stranger in this person's life to being their best friend, their confidant, their therapist. And so I try to remember that every single time I post a new video is, yes, I'm talking to my audience because it's a little bit different, but also I'm at the start. That's my start of my hour. That's the beginning of my appointment, is when I post that video. That might be the first time they've ever seen me, and I have to keep introducing myself. And I think that's what gets really tiring about bridal, is people feel like, oh, you should know who I am, or you should know this and you should know that. And it's one of the very specific industries where, no, most of the people, when you meet them, that's the very first time they've ever met you, and that is you for the rest of your life in this career. Is when you're talking to someone, it's going to be the very first time. And so you have to get over that barrier, whereas other brands really do have this longevity and they get the same clientele coming back. We don't have that luxury because hopefully, fingers crossed, people only do this one time. And so we have to be constantly reintroducing ourselves. And I think it keeps you really humble because you can't get a big head that way. You're not like a big heavy hitter. You're not like a really well-known person in the industry. Even the most well-known people are actually not that very well known. And so it makes it so that you're constantly having to prove yourself, which is both humbling in a really nice way and also in a very difficult way.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's so true. You are definitely preaching to the choir of what I always say. Has it been a proudest moment that you've had so far, that you're like a pinch me moment, or like, oh my gosh, that was epic, or was it working with someone?
Oh, I don't know if there's any one moment. There's been like a lot of little things. I feel like I'm still constantly being surprised at where this thing has taken us. Like I get recognized, which is so odd to me. Like I have people who come up in the gym and or when I'm getting coffee and they want to take a picture and I'm like, "You want a picture with me? Are you sure? Why?" But I think that for me is it's a constant source of pride is just hearing from people that they feel connected to this. And it's a reminder to me that even though I feel like I'm sort of sometimes talking into the void, it is hitting people, and there are people who are really, really connecting to the what I'm putting out there.
Yeah, it's not just people behind a keyboard saying like, I love this. It's actually like genuine humans. I can imagine it would be very cool. And also like when you're out and about and if someone recognizes you, you're like, what? It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
I also find a lot of pride in like getting through the tough moments. For me, I'm not really proud necessarily when like I have a piece of success. That feels like something to me, like I've hit a goal, that's something I'm working towards. What I feel really proud of is when I have my certain failures and I'm able to come back from what I view as a failure.
That's
When I
so
find,
refreshing. I've
yeah.
actually never heard that. And you're so true because, like, yeah, 100%. It's what makes you stronger and it's what builds you. And yeah, I would say, like, looking back on things, I am really proud that you learn and you overcome. So,
Yeah, exactly. So I remember a couple times in my career where I've hit like really big roadblocks, whether that's like really bad burnout or you know, really, really high times of conflict. And I thought, you know, this is it. I've posted my last video. I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. And pushing through that roadblock, being able to like look at the times I pushed through those roadblocks is what I think I'm the most proud of, is saying, you know, I'm actually not going to let all this outside pressure and my own pride get in my way. I'm going to keep doing what it is I want to do and move this job forward. And I think that's what I'm most proud of.
yeah, I love that. It's such a great positive outlook. I mean, the burning question that I'm sure a lot of people want to know is how on earth did you decide your own wedding dress?
So I had two weddings. I was married in 2021, and that was so easy. I took my best friend with me. We went to one shop. I knew exactly what I wanted to feel like. I knew what I wanted the day to go like. I knew who I was in that moment and who I was as a bride. And so it was very, very simple. It was straightforward. I ended up picking a vintage William Trevia gown. It was super simple. It was so me. And then the second dress was god awful. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I think it's because I just like am not that kind of person. My second wedding was so beautiful. It was so fun to do as like a professional in this industry. As a person, I was never meant to have a wedding like that. I'm not a big wedding person. My elopement was my perfect day. And so having to pick a dress to be at that bigger wedding was really, really difficult because it didn't feel like me. And so how was I supposed to dress myself when I didn't feel like this was actually what I was supposed to be doing? But it worked out. I ended up picking a Cortana gown, which was great because
beautiful.
Thank you. I actually am really, really happy with it. I love her. She's always been one of my favorite designers. I constantly come back to her for inspiration. I think she's just so creative. I love like how she's been so consistent through her entire career, and she's always been just a bridal designer who's really resonated with me. So it felt almost like I couldn't go with any other dress. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, well, where do you see Gown Eyed Girl going in the future? I'm sure you have so many exciting things that you're working on, but where do you kind of see the business going? Is there, you know, something that you're working towards at the moment?
I have a studio in Los Angeles, and I'm currently working on turning that into a larger filming studio. And so yeah, expanding past the try-ons. As much as I love showing wedding dresses, I'm getting sort of past the point of wanting to try them on all the time, just because I feel like that's such a small snapshot of what goes into the larger collection. And so I'm trying to move towards actually showcasing designers and collections and dresses on a deeper level so that we can get more nuanced as an industry, because I think bridal has had a really, really great time in the past few years of getting out there, becoming more viral, becoming more active on social media. And so now that we've sort of gotten into the mainstream, I would love to take it back and bring in some more nuance.
That's so cool. So I'm sure that designers will be flooding your inbox.
I hope so.
In preparing for bridal market, saying, yes, Kennedy, I want to work with you.
That's the goal. That's the goal. I would love to just be able to make these, hour-long YouTube videos walking
Such a
people through
need.
every collection. I think that would be really, really fun to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I'm sure that everyone has a lot of burning questions that they're like, Sophie, you didn't ask this, but I hope that it kind of covered most things. You're very talented. And yeah, like I said, our girls are big fangirls. We've obviously followed you for a while. So it's lovely to sit down and pick your brains and kind of hear about everything behind the scenes.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll get to see each other in person at market.
Yeah, thank you.